All right. Week 15 for the NFL. No Will here this week because he is on night shift right now. Uh, Before we get into NFL stuff, there's some things to mention from the last week. In college football, the Heisman winner was announced, and it was indeed Jaden Daniels of LSU.
Hip hip
Congratulations
hooray!
to the man. He deserved it. I believe second
Definitely.
place was Penix from was it Washington, I think.
Yes, Washington.
Yeah, and the difference between the two was only like I think 300 or something like that, which
Something like
is
that, yeah.
apparently a lot closer than it usually is for Heisman votes. Uh, the second thing that we need to talk about is what happened this week for the Chiefs and Bills game.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Chiefs fans are losing it right now because they thought this was a bad call. But if you happen to slow pace to the point of that play, you could clearly tell that Toney, the Chiefs wide receiver, was like a whole yard off sides. So was it really the refs' fault that they called offsides? No. At that point, the refs made the right call. So why are Chiefs fans even crying about it? That just blows my mind.
It's the usual thing of they want their team to do good, and it's the same thing that a lot of people do when refs make bad calls, but this one there's a legitimate reason for it. The thing that got
Right.
me was Mahomes' reaction on the sidelines.
Oh yeah,
I've I've never
oof.
seen that man lose his composure like that to the point where his teammates had to keep him away from the ref.
And honestly, that if I'm a member of the Chiefs, that's kind of embarrassing watching your leader just blow up like that. Like that, you don't ever want to see your leader of your, especially on offense, just lose his cool like that, especially during the most heated part of a close game. But at the same time, he's losing his cool with all the wrong reasons, unfortunately, because he's like they said, they called off offensive offsides. It was clearly offensive offsides, and he's just losing his mind over it. And there was a video clip that was floating around on Twitter uh, afterwards showing him just like cursing out the refs. And when he went up to Josh Allen, he was just saying that was an effing terrible call. F bombs galore. It's like, dude, wow. Okay, talk about being a poor loser,
Yeah.
sore loser at that point.
I think this is one of a very few that it's one of a few times where the Chiefs we know they get away with stuff. It's been happening
Oh
all
yeah.
season for the past couple years. But when something gets called on them finally, when it's actually like for a legitimate reason,
Hmm.
you can't be upset about it. You need to look at the player, not the ref.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
I
I want to point out when you mention here, Chris, the Chiefs fans. I'm gonna put an image in the Discord, and editing me in the future, please add this in on screen. Uh, see here. There is the image here of Toney lined up, and as you can see, it's from the sideline basically, so you get a perfect view down the line, and you can clearly see
hmm
that his foot is over there, and he's almost like the helmets are almost lined up between him and that defender. Now, what
yeah.
people have been saying is on this next play, which I'm also going to put in the Discord and on screen, Von Miller, they are claiming, was offsides on the very next play and it wasn't called. What I have to point out here is look at the difference between these two images. Look at the lines. Notice how the second image, the lines are slanted. That is perspective, people.
hmm
That's why it looks like
Yeah.
that. If the line was perfectly straight like the first image, it wouldn't look like that.
Right. That's just from a camera angle
Yep.
too. So I have to discredit this one because it's just from a camera angle, so it looks like
It
the line is
looks like he's
slanted.
farther up because it's taken from
Yeah.
behind like that. Whereas the one with Toney is straight on.
Yeah, it's like dead set smack in the middle. I mean, they're on the 50-yard line as well, so I would imagine it'd be dead smack in the middle. So, and like, you gotta take in perspective camera angles and how it may look on the field, especially if you're watching on a television. So you gotta take that line for a grain of salt because that's not how the actual line would look like, especially if you're facing it head on. So, and as I speak, I used to play football for shout out to the homeschool Saints. So I played wide receiver back in high school for the homeschool Saints, and it's a general rule of thumb that you have to signal to the referee, like just point to him saying you're either off the line or on the line. You gotta let the referee know. And in this case, it doesn't look like Toney did that. So that is definitely his fault in this scenario, and he basically just cost him the game. Period. There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's a bad look. Like you're coming at everyone, you're coming at the refs, you're coming at everyone except for who you should be going at, which is your wide receivers who have been letting you down all year. Like you know that they're
Exactly.
just costing you yet again, but you can't say that.
yep. And
Instead, he just decided to do the blame game on the refs.
one thing I have to like point out from Mahomes' interview, I can't remember if this was like directly after the game or later on. Two things. The first one being that he at one point said that Toney didn't gain any advantage from being up like that. Sir, I don't know about you, but he's already almost past that defender. 2 steps
Yeah,
and he's gone.
that's just a load of horse crap. That just sounds like made up bull crap excuses
Yeah.
from Mahomes. Like, come on, man, he was clearly
And
offside. You really gonna? Ugh.
the second one, like, I like Mahomes. I think he's an amazing quarterback. But this, like, at one point he said that I'm not direct quoting here because I can't remember word for word, but essentially the play was an amazing play that should have been a Hall of Fame clip for Travis Kelce because of the lateral. Uh,
Oh yeah,
that was wiped out because they wouldn't let us play ball. So essentially, your argument, Mahomes, is the play was so cool. Why did you take it away from us even when he committed the penalty? It was too
Yeah.
cool to call
yeah.
back.
We shouldn't have
That's
penalties if it looks cool.
that's not how this works, Pat.
No. And I'm sorry. It's like, as a Saints fan, we all were screwed over by the game that should not be mentioned. If y'all know where I'm going with this, we got screwed over big time and wasn't called. But that one should have been called, and it just wasn't. So I'm sorry. If you are complaining about the refs over a right call, I have no sympathy for you. Bottom line, get over it.
Not to mention, part of like it's ironic that it happens to them now when something similar happened to them in the Super Bowl and basically put them in position to win the game.
Anybody sense karma?
But
Hmm.
I think that takes care of that subject for now. The third thing before we move on to the NFL, Chris, I gotta ask you something.
What?
After last week, and I can't believe I'm about to say this. How
Uh-oh.
about them Cowboys?
Oh, shut up. Shut
Disgusting.
up. No. Just no. No. We will not speak of such blasphemy.
You two said me and Will were crazy for saying the Bills were gonna beat the Chiefs and the Cowboys were gonna beat the Eagles. Who's crazy now?
Still you.
Yeah.
You just
I'm with
happen
Paulo
to
on this one.
be right.
Lucky.
Hmm.
Uh, anyway,
With that, let's begin with Thursday night Chargers Raiders.
this is while both teams are just meh, and that's just the best word is to use for this matchup is just meh. At the same time, it should be a classic showdown between two AFC East. Is it AFC East or is it AFC? Which?
I believe
I,
it's East.
I,
I can't remember off the top of my head either.
yeah, I can't either. But anyway, that being said, it's a classic divisional showdown.
No,
Is where I'm
East
going
is
at.
Dolphins. This one's This one's the West.
What teams
Oh,
was it? I
West.
wasn't listening.
It's
Chargers and Raiders.
Chargers Raiders.
Yeah. Well, they're
It's
on the
AFC
west side of the
West.
country, so West.
Yeah. So battle of an AFC West division rivals, and I think it might be a good one. But I won't lie, it probably will be a very messy one considering the Chargers just have lost it completely. The Raiders are just what they are, the Raiders. Both sides, you would think the Chargers with a really high potent offense would blow these guys out, but honestly, the way they've been playing the last few weeks, the Raiders might actually have a chance at this one. And the Raiders aren't that good on offense either. So this is a hard matchup to really choose because it could go either way. But I I personally am gonna go with the Chargers. I'm hoping their offense will actually pick things up and actually start scoring points because it's been a while since they've actually looked really good. And maybe they just need a really bad Raiders defense to go up against. But
My
fingers
thing
crossed
with
there.
that, Chris, is that there's no Justin Herbert here.
Yep.
Oh,
Out
I
for the
forgot.
season.
Yep.
Oh, that changes things. I take back what I said then.
I'm thinking
um,
Raiders.
yeah,
As bad
I
as they are.
completely forgot. Ugh. Yeah, I completely forgot about Justin Herbert being out for the season. Yeah, give me the Raiders instead. Yeah, I changed my mind. Give me the Raiders. I mean, if the Chargers have no quarterback, then they're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Raiders as well. Chargers. I mean, it's Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell. Neither of those I am a particularly big fan of. And I mean, offensively, you've got good receivers. Like you've got Devonte Adams in Vegas, and you've got Keenan Allen, and then you've got Eckler and Jacobs are both good running backs. But I don't know. I think the Raiders at least like have been playing with Aiden O'Connell for um like half the season at least, like most of the season. So at least there's like consistency there, and they're not like immediately gonna have to like get used to their backup quarterback and all that. So I'll take the Raiders.
Yeah.
Close game, but Raiders.
And even though Will is not here with us tonight, he did give us his picks for the week for this game. He has chosen the Chargers.
Ah, so he will lose.
He will be the odd man out on this one.
Odd man out. All right. We
All
see
right.
you, Will.
Next up, we got 3 games this Saturday. Scratch that. We have a
Yes.
12, a 3:30, and a 7:15. First up at 12, Vikings Bengals. I want to go Bengals on this one.
Mm,
The
this could
Bengals,
be.
the Bengals have been beat. Like their quarterback Browning has been very good, surprisingly. Uh, Even despite all the injuries that team has had, they've been playing really well the past couple weeks. The Vikings, however, we didn't mention this in
Yeah.
the last matchup, but the Raiders and Vikings game. Oh my!
I
Nothing,
kid you not. Let
nothing
me.
but punts.
And you want to know what the final score was, folks? It was literally, and I
3-0.
kid you not, 3. Yep, 3-0. Like, what the heck? See, that was the complete opposite of what I was thinking of last week when I thought Josh Dobbs would have a comeback game against the Raiders, and it ended up being just a complete opposite. In fact, Josh Dobbs got benched, I think, before halftime, if I'm correct. That's how bad just that it was for him, and I don't think he's even started for this week.
He's not.
So
No, it's Nick Mullins.
yeah, I didn't.
Nick Mullins. Yep.
Ooh, yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in the Vikings for this one. So even with Justin Jefferson actually coming back, and they did say he is going to play this weekend, I just don't have enough faith in the Vikings' current quarterback. So I'm going to take the Bengals in this one as well. The Bengals just seem like they're slowly getting it together despite the injuries they've had. Even though it's probably too little too late for them for playoffs, but you never know. They might just find a way to sneak in, but they're going to need a lot of help. So I'm going to take the Bengals by 7 in this matchup.
I'll also do the Bengals. I think that the Vikings have looked terrible the last 2 games they've played.
They
And
really
even
have.
when Josh Dobbs was benched and Nick Mullins was put in, um, what, they got like 3 points with Nick Mullen as quarterback, no touchdowns or
Yeah,
anything. So, and
nothing.
then Browning back to back, the last 2 games have been really good, like insanely good for a backup QB. Um, so yeah, I think the Bengals win this by 7 to 10 points.
I also want to point out that I think the Bengals' defense is really improved as the season has gone on. As
Yeah,
for
they've really overcome.
Will has also chosen the Bengals for this matchup.
All right. Yeah, I think the Bengals really have overcome adversity in the best of way. Even if they don't make the playoffs, you gotta kind of applaud them for just even trying, despite everything bad that's happened to them. Losing Joe Burrow, losing some key defensive players, losing a few other
T.
offensive
Higgins
players.
being non-existent for like half the season.
Yeah, like, it's been rough for Bengals fans, but that team of theirs has found the way to overcome it. So you gotta give them kudos for that.
Resilient. Next up for the 3:30 game Saturday, we have Steelers Colts. I don't know what
Colts
to do with
easily.
this one.
I think I mean, yeah, the Colts. Uh, did they win last week? I don't remember.
No, they
I think
No,
got
they.
beat down by the Bengals.
Oh, never mind. uh, let me.
walloped.
Ugh. Okay, let me change my train of thought. I was about to go on. So, um, again, this I will say though the Steelers still ain't good enough. It just, ugh. I mean, they lost to back 3-10 teams. Like last week being the Patriots, and the week before that was somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but still, it's that the Steelers are falling apart. They're losing to really bad teams and letting these bad teams look good on them, or at least look decent on them for the most part. So will they do it again against the Colts, even though they have the same record as them? I really don't know. At this point, that Steelers defense is doing everything they can, but at the same time, they're just not winning games
Yeah.
efficiently. So I don't know. I think I might still choose the Colts over this one. Yeah, sure, the Colts got walloped last week, but I think they might have their rebound game against the Steelers. The Steelers are just falling apart, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also gonna take the Colts in this. The Steelers are not good. And the Colts did get walloped, but they still put up what, 14 points? There's still 2 touchdowns. It's honestly that's more than what the Steelers do a lot of times. Um, and
Yeah,
then again, like we're talking about the Colts getting walloped by a Bengals team that also beat Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's a good team. So
Yeah.
that's just the Bengals were just the better team. But I think the Colts can come through and beat the Steelers. The Steelers still just don't have anything that scares you. Their play
Yeah.
calling hasn't improved. It's just I think the Steelers are just going to continue their
The only
downward trend.
thing the only thing that might save them is their defense, but I don't even think that's going to be enough. Because
Yeah, I
the
mean,
Colts defense, I think, against the bad offense of the Steelers is going to thrive.
yeah.
So I'm also picking the Colts in this, and I believe, let me look at the list here. I believe Will did as well. Yes, he did.
there you go.
All right.
In that case, moving on to Broncos and Lions.
Mm-hmm.
This should, I think, is going to be a good game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it depends on which version of the Lions we get. Because last week we got a really bad Lions squad that lost to a really bad Bears squad. Granted, it was division rivals, so we took that into perspective because the Bears gave them a fight the first time around, and then they finally found a way to beat them this time. And the Lions, they've just been looking kind of off lately these last couple weeks. They
Yeah.
just haven't looked as dominant lately. And the Broncos, they've just been finding some kind of rhythm. Granted, they did lose to the Texans the week before, but they did win this week, or this past week, that is. So, honestly, I think this is maybe one of my upsets for the week. I'm going to take the Broncos in this matchup. I think the Broncos are just, they caught a flame despite one hiccup against the Texans. And the Lions just they're just not as threatening as I once thought they were. So I think I'm gonna take the Broncos. I think their defense might find a way to shut down the Lions offense. but I'm going to take the Broncos by 3.
Call me crazy, but I think I'm gonna agree with you. The Broncos have been winning, and they have been looking better and better. And the Lions, I don't know, the Lions have been getting exposed a little bit lately. They're still a
It's
good team, but they're not an unbeatable team by any margin.
really not. It just feels like they're going backwards at this rate.
Yeah. And not only has their defense not looked as good as what was like a pretty good defense at the beginning of the year, their offense hasn't been able to score against like the Bears defense is not that good, and they couldn't even score very much on the Bears defense. And the Broncos defense has been improving, so I don't really believe that the Lions will do better on offense against them. Where is this game at? Is this Detroit or
I'm
Yeah,
looking here.
Detroit.
Yeah.
okay? Honestly, I don't think it being in Detroit does that much for them. Like the Lions aren't that much better at home than they are on the road. I'll still give it to the Broncos by like 3 points.
Yeah, I'm looking through the Broncos past games here. Packers, Chiefs, Bills, Vikings, Browns, and Chargers all lost to the Broncos recently. That game you were talking about, Chris, against the Texans, while they did lose there, it was only 17-22.
Yeah, that's
It
what I'm
was
saying. It's
not
like
by much.
it really wasn't, and that's why I think that the Broncos have just completely changed the course of their
Yeah.
season. They went from being the graveyard and just likely to miss the playoffs to potentially making the playoffs
Yes,
if they get enough
as
help.
of this week, they are one game behind the Chiefs.
Yeah,
There's a potential for the Broncos to host a playoff game.
yeah,
Uh,
and if the Chiefs lose again, oh boy, there's chaos in that division.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick the Broncos too in this one. I'm losing faith in the Lions as of recent weeks. They haven't really impressed me much. And looking at Will's list here, he also has chosen the Broncos.
Well, there you go. It's unanimous.
Right. Move on to Sunday. First up, oh Lord, Giants and Saints.
Ugh. All right, let me get this thought process over with because I have some things to say. Yeah, sure. Last week we beat the Panthers. Woohoo! Big deal. We should. I mean, that's what you should be doing, right? Well, now, even then, we still didn't play that good against the Panthers. Like, it's the freaking Panthers. They have one win, and the Panthers gave us everything they got up until the mid third quarter or something like that. And what's worse for me, and this really ticked me off the most, Derek Carr had a whopping 37 yards passing of 16 out of 22 attempts in the first half alone. And it carried through the third quarter up until he made a big chunk play, and that's where he ended up the game with 119 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I'm sorry, that just tells me you are still bad if you can't throw for more than 200 yards passing in a game. It's
Against
just
the worst team in the NFL.
exactly. I don't care if they're division rivals. That don't mean nothing to me in this game. The Panthers just straight up suck, and there's a reason why they suck. We saw on the field that day, and the fact that you just couldn't just carve them up like that. Oh man, this team is just dead in the water right now. Yeah, sure, we won 28-6, but it don't mean nothing to me. This was just a very unimpressive win. It should have been more than that, honestly, but here we are. So for this game in particular, I was watching the Giants Packers game on Monday night and seeing the not Packers, Giants third string quarterback, I believe, Tommy DeVito, absolutely carve up the Packers defense. I got a bad feeling about this game, folks. This game, I think, is probably going to be the Saints' worst nightmare coming up. I feel like the Giants might actually destroy us, even though they're just as bad as we are. Actually, they're worse than we are. So, and considering that no one's ever played against Tommy DeVito before, and knowing the Saints, we just do not play well against rookie quarterbacks. I I want the Saints to win, but I don't think we are. So I'm gonna pick the Giants in this one by 3. That's how little faith I have in this Saints team.
I the Giants have been playing well, and Tommy DeVito has been playing well. I have to have faith that we're gonna pull out a win. Like I don't know why. I still believe we can pull out a win, but I'll take us by 3 points and just hope that I'm right.
I hope you're right too, because if we lose to the Giants, oh boy.
That's it. Season's over. No
Yep,
playoffs.
season's over. Nothing. Zilch nada. It's just I just have no faith in the Saints team. Like I said, I know we won last week, but we should have blown those guys out by more. And the way that we played last week, I was just not satisfied. And looking at how the Giants played the last 4 weeks, they won 3 out of 4 of their games with Tommy DeVito as their quarterback. I can just easily see us losing to the Giants. That's how little faith I have in the Saints right now.
Yeah,
and
our run defense isn't good, and they got Saquon, so that could be rough
Yeah.
for us.
And you said
Very.
last, like 3 out of 4, the one they did lose was to the Cowboys, who are surprisingly actually kind of good right now.
Yeah,
True. This is true. I mean, I'm not trying to like give the Giants any kind of hope or anything like that. Considering they have won 3 out of 4 and they got smoked by the Cowboys. I mean, you would think that should have happened anyway because Cowboys are a really good team. Hate to admit that, but here we are. But winning 3 out of 4 is it's pretty impressive. Even if the season's a lost cause, at least you have some kind of hope
Yeah.
lean towards next season. And honestly, for Tommy DeVito's case, if he actually does win out the rest of the season, name him the starting quarterback for next season because the way he plays, I actually like it.
Yeah, I want to have faith that the Saints can pull something out here, but I just don't know. I don't think I have enough faith in them. It's the offense of all the things.
Offense is garbage. Derek Carr's
Our
garbage.
defense can keep us in games, but as we know, the Patriots' defense is also pretty good. They still lost to the Giants. Granted, it was 10-7, but I feel like the Giants' defense is also getting a little better. Granted, against someone like the Cowboys, they're getting torched because, well, CeeDee Lamb exists.
And then
But
Dak Prescott, he's just been carving up teams left and right these last 5 weeks or
Yeah.
so. I mean, you expect that Cowboys just absolutely murder the Giants, and that's what they did twice this year.
It's definitely not going to be like, I think it was the last time the Saints and Giants faced each other. It was like what, 50 something to 40 something. I can't remember the specific like score, but it was one of the most high scoring games in the NFL.
Oh yeah, the battle between Eli Manning, Drew Brees, the
Yeah.
battle of 2015. Yeah, I remember that one. I think the final score was like 52-49 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be anything like that. I think it's gonna be pretty low, much low scoring than that.
I think I got to agree with Chris on this one though. I'm taking the Giants by 3.
Yeah.
theoretically possible.
I don't know if our offense is gonna be able to do enough. I just don't have faith anymore in them, man.
Me neither. And what makes it worse about the Saints is that I've been noticing the players have been fighting amongst each other, specifically against Carr. And if you're fighting with your quarterback, who's supposedly your leader, that's just spelling a lot of bad things. And of course, our stupid coach is just oblivious to the whole thing. This is what really peeved me is that during a press conference after the game, a reporter was asking about a conflict happening between Eric McCoy, our center, and Derek Carr. What was his response to that? He said, "Oh, I'm just glad they were man enough to fight it out amongst themselves." I'm like, so you're encouraging that? I'm sorry. Why the hell would you encourage that? You should be shutting it down immediately. In fact, if Sean Payne was still our coach, he shut that down immediately. Like that's just uncalled for, man. Just a This is one of the many reasons I hate Dennis Allen. He needs to go ASAP.
There's a reason people are passing out Fire Dennis Allen t-shirts in the Superdome.
Exactly. We're done with them. Like and it's and what's worse is that Saints tickets, while it might seem nice at first, they're being sold at ridiculously low prices now. At the same time, who wants to go see this team? Not me, that's for sure.
Yeah, looking back on some of the earlier games this season, we should have known. Well, I guess we couldn't have known back then, but the Titans game, yeah, two terrible teams going at it, and only like the victor being decided by 1 point.
Yeah, I mean, who'd have thought? Because me and Jose went to that game, and we thought, okay, maybe it's just a rough start for the starters. No, it's just two bad offenses going at each other, and one good defense and one mediocre defense doing the best to their abilities. But at the same time, either side had a really strong competition in terms of offense. So, yeah, it's a rough season, folks, for Saints fans,
Yep.
and I hate it.
And I believe here, let me take a look at Will's pick for this game. He has picked the Saints.
Let's go,
I don't know
Will.
about that one, buddy. I honestly don't know. I want it to happen, but I don't think it's going to.
I don't think so either. You know what? He should pay for our lunch if he's wrong.
I don't know if we should do that without him here. I don't think that's a good idea. But
No, we should.
Anyway, we spent a long time on this, so
Yeah, let's move
moving
on.
Falcons Panthers.
Just another bad matchup. Another division rival. Divisional matchup. Falcons Panthers. Panthers suck, like we already stated, and the Falcons. They're obviously significantly better, even if it's not by much. But give me the Falcons in this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons win by 10 at the most. Because the Falcons have a better running game. That's their strongest feature about them. Their defense is much better than the Panthers. And the Panthers they can't. There's nothing right. There's nothing good about them. There's really nothing
Nothing's
good
going
about them.
right.
Right. Like poor Bryce Young. I feel bad for the poor guy. His first year in the NFL, and he's behind the worst O line in the history of O lines. He's the only good thing about them is Adam Thielen. He's been their most productive receiver this year, but even he can't do everything. So the Panthers are a mess. So give me the Falcons by 10.
Yeah, I don't think it should be much of a question. It should be the Falcons winning this one.
Yeah, Falcons for sure. Anything that the Panthers can do, the Falcons can do just as well, if not a little better. And that's not even to say that the Falcons are good. The Panthers just don't do much well. So it's got to be the Falcons. If the Falcons can beat us, then the Falcons can beat the Panthers.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
Moving on. Bears, Browns. Honestly, I don't think the Bears are gonna be able to score a whole lot on the Browns defense. The Browns defense is just eating teams alive.
Yeah, and the Browns, they did really well last week. And they had Joe Flacco playing, and we weren't sure who was actually playing at quarterback. And Joe Flacco, he came in and did well enough to win the game for them. So,
actually,
and to win the starting job for the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. So, yeah, the Browns with behind Joe Flacco should be able to do pretty well for the remainder of the season because I was pretty impressed with how he played. He managed to throw the ball around efficiently. They moved down the field very well. Obviously, the Browns defense speaks for themselves. They can shut down opponents left and right, no matter how good your offense is. So I'm going to take the Browns by 7. I would love to go a little higher, but we'll see what happens.
I'll take the Browns as well. I think the Bears are like sneaky good, where like they beat the Lions, and the Lions are supposed to have a pretty decent defense, but I mean that's kind of up in the air at this point. Um, but I mean the Bears can score, but it's another team like Jacksonville where Jacksonville can score, but I mean you're not going to score as much as you want to against the Browns. And then if Joe Flacco continues to play well, then I think the Browns are going to take this one.
I'm going to
Yeah.
pick the Browns as well. Let me look here and see where Will left his pick for this game. He has also chosen the Browns. He also chose the Falcons for the last one.
Oh, I forgot.
I did
We
too.
forgot about. Oops. At least he's
Next up,
not here
though,
to chew us out.
Buccaneers and Packers. I think this should be the Bucks. I think they have a better offense.
Yeah, and the Packers coming off a embarrassing loss to the Giants of all teams. Yeah, it doesn't. In this matchup, doesn't really speak to many favors, honestly. Buccaneers just have a better offense than the Packers right now. Baker Mayfield might be able to carve up that Packers defense to the best of his abilities. So yeah, I'm also going to take Buccaneers on this one. They're just a tad better, even if they have similar records at the moment. I think they just get the job done. I'm going to take the Buccaneers by 7.
This one's difficult because the Packers are like super hot one week and then the next week they're just not, like they didn't show up. Um so it's kind of like a 50-50. Like, are you gonna get the Packers that beat the Chiefs or are you gonna get the Packers that lost to the Giants? But I think
Right.
just like a 50-50 team like that, I'm not gonna say that I believe in them. So I'll take the Bucks. The Bucks are pretty consistently like good but not great each week. So I think I'll take the Bucks.
Yeah.
And what does Will have to say for it?
Let me see here. I gotta find his pick.
Let's
Where is it?
see.
Buccaneers.
Buccaneers. And it's
Nice.
unanimous.
Next up, we have Jets Dolphins. Do we know if Tyreek Hill is playing?
I have no clue.
I mean, he came
Um,
back into the game when he went out this past week, so I would assume he's going to play.
Yes, but he went out again not
Oh, did
too
he?
long
hmm,
after.
then
Um,
that changes things.
Let me look real quick and see what the latest is on Tyreek.
I
Because
s-
yeah, I agree. If Tyreek plays, then it's a very different conversation we're having.
It says
if
as of
Tyreek play,
today, he was listed as a non-participant in practice.
hmm, well, let's say he does play, then obviously the Dolphins' chances of winning this game jumps up by a lot. And the last time the Dolphins played the Jets, it was a slaughter. So, but the Jets defense, as we've said all season long, can be feisty. So if the Dolphins don't have Tyreek Hill, and after the way the Dolphins lost to the Titans on Monday Night Football, yee. I mean, it could be a rough game for the Dolphins, or it could be another blowout game for the Dolphins. You, it's they're hit or miss at this point.
It just
And
depends on if the meltdown for the team continues. If the Dolphins continue what was going on Monday night, then I don't think I think they're gonna struggle. They should still win it, but they're gonna struggle if they continue with those issues they had.
yeah, I agree. The Dolphins kind of kind of resemble the Lions a little bit, but not by much. But the way the Dolphins have been playing against bad teams lately has been a little concerning, and much like the Lions, they just struggle to win against them. So, and the fact they struggled, and the fact they had a struggle loss to the Titans just kind of speaks a lot about them. So, I'm still going to take the Dolphins in this matchup with or without Tyreek Hill. I think they will struggle to win this one. I just want to see them dropping 2 in a row. Granted, I did say that last week about the Eagles, which we will not speak about, Jose.
I ain't said nothing. What you mean?
So, but I'm going to take the Dolphins by 3 in this matchup.
I'm also gonna roll with the Dolphins. I think it'll be a closer game than it was last time they played, whether Tyreek plays or not. And maybe this just me, but I think that the Jets looked like pretty decent last week. Like they won their game by several touchdowns, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I'd have to look at the
Yeah,
score again.
I think it's like 21-10. I think maybe I don't remember. I think, and they played
Uh,
the Texans last week, I believe.
Here we
Yeah.
have Dolphins 34, Jets 13.
Okay.
That was their last
Oh, you're
Um.
game.
talking about that.
Oh,
I
what?
was talking about this past week.
Oh no, they beat the Texans 30-6.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was
ouch.
thinking. It's like the
But
Jets actually looked pretty good.
but one thing you have to consider with that, the Texans did not have Dalton Schultz, no Tank Dell. They lost Nico Collins. I
Ooh.
think around second quarter, if I'm right. I could be wrong there. And Stroud went out with a concussion late in the game.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
I'm not looking at the win. I'm just looking at the Jets put up 30 points. Like that's
Yeah.
impressive for the Jets team.
Oh,
So I
Right.
think
That's
it'll be a
Texans
closer
Texans
game.
also lost a defensive lineman that game too.
Oh, okay.
yeah. That was a
But
train
yeah,
wreck for the Texans.
Yep.
yeah. I still think the Dolphins will pull out the win though, but I do think it'll be closer than the last time these two teams played.
Yeah. And when do we really expect Zach Wilson to have another good game like he had against the Texans? It's rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Dolphins as well. Let me check and see what Will has chosen for this.
Think
Dolphins.
he already
Mm.
unanimous.
Right, next up we have the Texans and Titans. And again, similar stuff. I'm not sure on the status of Dalton Schultz. Um, Dell is out for the year. Nico might still be out. I'm not sure. Stroud is out with a concussion as of right now. He has not cleared protocol. And if he does not, uh, Davis Mills will start. And oof, just
Yeah,
oof.
we've seen we've seen Davis Mills play before, and honestly, it's not something you want to write home about. If he plays, then I could see the Titans possibly beating them, unless the Texans get some of their injured players back, which I'm not even sure about. So, like with CJ Stroud, obviously, I think the Texans will blow out the Titans, but without them, it might be a close one. But I think I'm gonna choose the Texans. Granted, I know they have a lot of injured players, but I think I just don't see the Titans winning two in a row, especially against two good teams. So they might struggle. I'm not gonna say the Texans are gonna blow them out for this matchup, but it will be a struggle win for them. But it's only going to be by 3 points. But of course, it depends on who's coming back for the Texans. Because honestly, it's a toss up for this matchup.
I want to pick the Texans, but just like Nico and CJ Stroud, like it's such a gamble because they could both be out, and then that would completely change the way I see this game. Um,
I don't think it's quite as bad if Nico is the only one out and Shroud plays, because you still have what's his name? I think it's Noah Brown. You have Robert Woods. You still
I
have
mean,
some
sure, but
decent
you're down
receivers.
your number one and number two receivers. Definitely would make a difference.
Yeah, but Stroud I think is a good enough quarterback where he can kind of make it work, especially against somewhat lackluster defense of the Titans.
You
But
know what? I'm
Yeah,
taking the Titans. I'm taking the Titans.
I'm gonna say this: if Stroud is cleared, then I think the Titans will win, most likely by like 3 points. Uh,
Opposite. You just said the wrong thing.
or yeah, I got it backwards. The dyslexia
whoops.
kicking in.
Oh no.
Uh, so if Stroud plays, the Texans, I think, are going to win by 3, at least 3. It's probably going to be a struggle game
Yeah,
for him. But if he does not, if both him and Nico Collins are out, and I still don't know about Dalton Schultz, I think the Titans are going to win it because Levis is kind of catching fire a bit. He's got weapons, and the team just seems like they're slowly coming
Ooh,
together.
bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
If Stroud does not play and it's Davis Mills, I'm picking the Titans.
Well,
So I'm just reading up on the
you gotta
Texans
pick one or
injury
the
list.
other.
So far, CJ Stroud is still in concussion protocol. Did not practice this week.
Yeah.
So far.
We won't
As
know if
for
he
Nico,
clears it till like maybe Saturday.
Nah, we're
Yeah.
making these picks right now. There ain't no game time decision. What team you picking?
I already told you.
Which one?
Right now, it's looking like Stroud's not going to play, so I'm going to roll with Titans. But if he
Okay.
plays, I'm changing.
No, you're not. You could change, but not on the record. We ain't playing this flip flop game. We've been down this road already.
with that in mind, let's move on.
Chiefs Patriots. The Chiefs should win this, but
I don't know if they could get over their crybaby self and actually grow up to man underwear, if you know what I mean.
I also forgot to mention Will did pick the Texans.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, he's a Texans fan. He's got to support his team. So, but this matchup though, Patriots Chiefs. Patriots, yeah, they won pretty nicely against the Steelers, but at the same time, Steelers aren't that good either. And Chiefs, I know I initially said there's no way they could lose 2 in a row. I'm also going to say there's no way they lose 3 in a row. If they do, then just shoot me dead here, because the Chiefs they need to bounce back quickly. If they don't bounce back, then guess who's right behind them? The Denver Broncos, as we mentioned earlier. So, but I think the Chiefs will bounce back. It might be a bit hard fought considering it is on the road, and they haven't been a very good road team this year. But I'm going to take the Chiefs by 7.
Eh. I want to pick the Chiefs. I think I'm gonna take the Chiefs in this, but I don't think it's gonna be any kind of blowout. I think the Patriots might put up a fight.
Yeah, it's not going to be a blowout, that's for sure. Because the Chiefs have been struggling lately. They've lost 4 out of their last 6 games, which is not a good thing. And the lack of receivers they have, especially really smart receivers. Looking at you, Toney. um, it's a glaring hole right now that they got. Is that they just do not have a quality good receiver to help Patrick Mahomes spread the ball outside of Travis Kelce, and he can't do everything, of course.
I
So
was listening to I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the sports analysts talking about it earlier this week. Kelsey hasn't been doing amazing lately, and part of it I think is because there's so much pressure on him as the only reliable receiver in that group.
I mean, can you blame him? He's got the best hands out of all the current receivers
He is
on that
currently
field.
the only reliable one there.
Not to mention he's got Miss Taylor Swift in the box office. He's trying to impress his girlfriend over there. So, yikes.
I'm picking Chiefs, but I don't think it's going to be more much.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
take the Chiefs. I think the Patriots got lucky a little bit last week. Like the
Yeah.
Patriots have been consistently bad, and then they finally won a game. I don't think that's indicative of them like going on an upward slant. I think they got lucky.
Yeah, I agree.
And
And
again,
we'll
I don't think it's going to be a blowout unless somebody held Kadarius Toney at gunpoint and made that man learn all the rules again.
Yes.
let's hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, for Will, he also picked the Chiefs for this matchup, so it's pretty unanimous for this decision.
And for this next one, I think we all will be in agreement on this one. I don't think it should be a question. Niners, Cardinals,
Oh, yeah, easily Niners.
Niners.
The Niners are on fire right now, and the Cardinals, well, they suck. I mean, there's nothing much to say about them. Even with Kyler Murray back, he's not the answer, obviously, for the Cardinals. They're headed for a rebuild at this point, and the Niners, they might just put them out of their misery this week and just completely eliminate them from playoff contention, even though they technically were never in playoff contention, but it'll be official nonetheless. The Niners are just too dang good. They have a really good defense. They're shutting down teams left and right. And granted, I know the Cardinals do have their moments where they actually do put up a good fight against the Niners, but let's be real, the Cardinals just stink. So Niners, I'm gonna say Niners by 7 in this matchup.
Yeah, the Niners are gonna beat them down. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be much of a game.
Yeah. Will has also picked the Niners. Next up, we have Commanders and Rams. I'm picking the Rams on this one. After last week and how they played against Baltimore, uh, I think they're winning this one. Offense
I just
was
want
doing really well.
I just want to just tell the Rams I'm sorry that I doubted them last week because honestly I thought the Ravens would smoke them. But yeah, kudos to the Rams. They held in. They just lost by a very unfortunate punt return for a touchdown to the Ravens last week in overtime. That really sucks. But here we are. So with this one, there's no question about it. Rams all day. They put up that kind of points against a really good Ravens team. And the Commanders they're just garbage too. So Rams all day. I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams put up 14 on these guys.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams as well. The Commanders have they were starting to look like they might be decent, and then lately they just haven't been.
Yeah.
And the Rams definitely have the talent to win this game, so I'll take the Rams.
I
Yeah.
believe Will has also taken the Rams.
Yes, he has.
Next up, Cowboys, Bills.
This should be a good one.
I think it's going to be a good one, but I think ultimately the Cowboys are going to win it.
By the
I
way, let's cheer and applause for the Bills. They finally beat the Chiefs for the first time in how many years now? Like 3 or 4. It's been a while, but bravo, you hand of the applause, boys. Hand of the applause. So, but this one gonna be a very good matchup, I think. The Bills have been playing very good football lately, and they've just been playing very good against good teams as of late. Played well against the Eagles, fell short of that one. They beat the Chiefs last week, thanks to a blunder by the Chiefs that I already mentioned. And this one, well, we'll see what happens. This could be a toss up, honestly. But seeing how the Cowboys have been catching fire, they took down their division rivals last week. I'm gonna take the Cowboys in this matchup, despite it being on the road and despite the Bills being good, but it's only going to be by 3.
Yeah, I'll also take the Cowboys. The Bills are a good team when they want to be, but the Cowboys have looked really, really good the last 4 or 5 weeks or something like that. So I'll take the Cowboys on offense and defense, I might add. The Cowboys
Yeah.
have looked really good, so
They
I'll
just
take the
look like the
Cowboys.
better team to me.
Yeah, they look like a top 3 team in the league right now.
Yeah,
They really
Like
do.
them,
the
the Niners, and
Bills
whoever else you want to put in there.
the Bills have not looked like the dominant team we've seen in the past on
Not at
offense
all.
or defense. So I think the Cowboys are going to come away with this win, and I think it's by possibly 10.
Hmm.
That's bold.
But I believe Will has also picked the Cowboys.
And he must be vomiting right now, considering his hatred for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I threw up a little in my mouth earlier when I
Yeah,
said that.
yeah, same. I have a throw up bucket next to me right now.
Next up, we have Ravens and Jaguars.
This, mm, not sure where to go with this one. Ravens looked good. They beat the Rams in overtime last week. Took overtime to beat the Rams, of course. So keep that in mind because the Rams, while they looked good last week, have had their ups and downs. So what do we say about this matchup? I think I want to say I want to give the Jags an edge, but at the same time, it's the Ravens. The Ravens just look really good on offense, and the Jaguars they had a good week last week. But oh man, this is a tough one.
Personally, I have to give it to the Ravens because the Jaguars, no Christian Kirk, and I believe as of right now, Zay Jones is also questionable. So, do we know
So is
if
ETN with his ribs still.
TN is too? Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm giving this to the Ravens then.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you there. Ravens all day.
That's a lot of
I'm
injuries
also
to
gonna
deal with.
give it to. Yeah, I'm also gonna give it to the Ravens. The Ravens to me are the best team in the AFC right now. Like they're
Oh,
just their defense is really good, and then their offense is just about as good as any offense in the AFC. Maybe not the best because you've still got the Dolphins in them, but just all around the most well balanced good team in the AFC.
Yeah. But yeah, like the Ravens they just look too good, and I don't think the Jaguars can keep up with them, considering the injuries they have already on offense.
Will has also chosen the Ravens. All right, we are at the last game of the week. Monday Night Football, Eagles, Seahawks.
Hmm. I think it's obvious who's gonna win this one, but the same, yeah, it's good. Eagles should be able to bounce back. At least I hope they bounce back. I mean, they let me down last week, so I got a bit of a bone to pick with them. But for this matchup in particular, I think the Eagles should bounce back because they're a more superior team. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Seahawks kept up with them because the Seahawks, if we remember a couple weeks ago, they kept up with the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't win the game, but they still kept up with them. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Seahawks found a way to keep up with them because let's be honest, y'all. The Eagles' defense has kind of been struggling lately. Ever since the Niners game, they just look beat down, and I don't know if they're dealing with injury issues or what, but it's a bad sign when your defense can't stop anybody, and your offense is also having fumbling issues lately. I've noticed. So I don't know exactly what's going on with the Eagles, but if I'm an Eagles fans, I'd be concerned. But for this matchup, I'm going to take the Eagles by 3.
The problem is all of them have been eating popcorn because they all got butterfingers.
This is true.
I'm gonna go ahead and take the Eagles as well. The Eagles let me down last week. And the Seahawks have been playing pretty well. But Geno is gonna potentially be coming back off injury if he's back at all. The Eagles, like, if the Eagles lose 3 in a row, then that's gonna be a shock to me.
Right, same. It's just there's something going on with the Eagles that if they do lose 3 in a row, there's really something wrong with the Eagles because it'd just be very uncharacteristic of them to do that.
Yeah. And I think the Eagles are going to win this one. They should, but I think it's going to be a fight from the Seahawks.
I think
Should
so
be,
too.
yeah.
And plus, it's in Seattle, and usually Seattle plays better at home with
Yeah.
the so-called 12th man crowd. So,
And Will
but
has
yeah,
also chosen the Eagles.
very good, very good.
All right, and I think that is all the games for this week.
Wow, we finished early today, y'all.
Surprisingly. Oh yeah, it's been going for 59 minutes. We're actually right around an hour. Wow.
Nice. Well,
Nice.
shall we do a dance, y'all?
A dance?
Yeah,
No,
dance
no. You
contest.
you remember what I showed you last night to end the podcast?
Ah,
The
yes, yes,
usual the usual outro song that Paulo quote unquote tries to do
yes,
will be replaced
yes,
this week.
No.
The Chiefs
yes.
could have won the game, but he was offsides. That play could have been in the Hall of Fame, but Toney's offsides. And now Mahomes is whining and crying, and we know why. Hey, hey, 'cause he's offsides, because he's offsides, because he's
Good night, everybody.
offsides.